Imagine a Medicare plan with a $0 monthly premium. Not a low premium. Zero. No money coming out of your Social Security check for plan coverage. On top of that, imagine the plan deposits money into a savings account in your name every year. Money you can use to cover your healthcare costs, money that rolls over if you do not spend it, money that you can potentially use for years. Sounds promising. Now imagine the catch, because there is always a catch. The plan has a deductible that can exceed $10,000. You pay every dollar of that deductible out of pocket before the plan covers anything. The deposit covers part of it, but you are responsible for the rest if you have a major medical event. Some years you will spend very little. Other years, you will hit the deductible in a single hospital stay. This is the Medicare Medical Savings Account Plan, or Medicare MSA. It is one of the least used types of Medicare Advantage plans, and it is not right for most retirees. But for a small subset of healthy, financially prepared retirees with a high risk tolerance and a careful approach to spending, the MSA structure can provide real value. Let me walk through exactly how MSAs work, who they serve, and when they make sense. This video is for educational purposes only and is not personalized tax, financial, or legal advice. Consult a qualified professional for guidance on your specific situation. Medicare plan options vary by county, and the specific plans available in your area may differ from the general descriptions I provide. Always review the plan's summary of benefits and the Medicare Plan Finder for the most accurate and current information for your location. Let me start with the basics. A Medicare MSA is a type of Medicare Advantage plan authorized under Part C. It has two components. The first is a high deductible health plan that covers Medicare-approved services after you meet the deductible. The deductible is typically several $1,000s and can be over $10,000. The second is a medical savings account funded by Medicare that you can use to pay for qualified medical expenses, including your deductible. The deposit amount is set by the plan and varies. Common deposits are in the range of $2,000 to $4,000 per year, though some plans deposit more. Here's how the numbers work in practice. Suppose a plan has a $10,000 deductible and deposits $3,000 into your MSA at the beginning of the year. If you have a heart attack in February and incur $25,000 in covered medical expenses, you use the $3,000 from the MSA to pay for the first portion of the deductible. You then pay the remaining $7,000 of the deductible out of your own pocket. After that, the plan covers the remaining $18,000 of covered expenses. So in a catastrophic year, your actual out-of-pocket cost is $7,000. The MSA covered $3,000, the plan covered $18,000, you covered $7,000. Now consider a healthy year. You spend $500 total on medical care, all covered by the MSA deposit. You have $2,500 of unspent MSA money that rolls over to next year. Over a decade of healthy years, the MSA balance could grow to $25,000 or $30,000, assuming the plan deposits remain similar year over year. That accumulated balance is yours, kept in a trustee-held account. It can be used in future years for qualified medical expenses. Here is the critical tax nuance. Withdrawals from the MSA for qualified medical expenses are tax-free. The deposits Medicare makes into the MSA are not taxable income. The growth in the account, if any, is not taxable. But withdrawals for non-qualified expenses are taxable as ordinary income, and if you are under 65, subject to a 50% penalty. For most Medicare MSA participants, the penalty is not an issue because they are already over 65. But the ordinary income treatment of non-qualified withdrawals is significant because those withdrawals also count toward adjusted gross income, which affects ARMA and Social Security taxation. So a Medicare MSA is a tax-advantaged savings account for health care funded by Medicare that rolls over year to year and grows with interest if the custodian pays any and is available to cover your deductible and other qualified medical expenses for the rest of your life. For a healthy retiree, the accumulated MSA balance can become a substantial reserve that funds medical expenses even beyond normal Medicare coverage, such as long-term care, dental, vision, and hearing costs, depending on what qualifies as a medical expense. Consider Helen and Thomas. Helen is 67 and Thomas is 69. Both are in excellent health, walking 2 miles each day, eating a Mediterranean diet, and seeing their doctors for preventive care only. They live in a county in Arizona where a Medicare MSA plan is offered. The plan has a $10,500 deductible and deposits approximately $3,200 into the MSA each year. They enrolled 3 years ago. Over those 3 years, they have spent about $2,000 total on medical care, all covered by the MSA. The balance in the MSA has grown to over $7,000. They have paid zero in premiums during those 3 years. Compared to a traditional Medicare plan with a $175 monthly Part B premium plus a Medicare supplement premium of about $180 per month, they have saved over $12,000 across the two of them over the 3 years, after accounting for the premiums they would have paid on a conventional plan. If Helen or Thomas experiences a major medical event, they have the $7,000 in the MSA and personal savings to cover the remaining deductible. They are financially prepared for the worst case. And in the interim, they are accumulating an ever-growing MSA balance. For them, the structure works. Now consider Frank. Frank is 73 with moderate heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and a history of back surgery. He sees multiple specialists throughout the year and takes 5 prescription medications. His annual healthcare costs run between $12,000 and $18,000. An MSA plan with a $10,000 deductible would be a disaster for Frank. He would hit the deductible early every year, paying $7,000 or more out of pocket after the MSA deposit. Plus, he would have no prescription drug coverage because MSA plans typically do not include Part D, requiring separate Part D enrollment that adds premiums and complexity. For Frank, a traditional Medicare plan with a Medicare supplement and separate Part D coverage is dramatically better. He would pay more in premiums, but far less in out-of-pocket costs. This is the fundamental trade-off with MSA plans. They reward healthy retirees who spend little on healthcare and penalize unhealthy retirees who spend a lot. The crossover point depends on the specific plan deductible, the MSA deposit amount, and the cost of alternative coverage. For most retirees, the crossover point is reached at modest annual healthcare spending, perhaps $3,000 to $5,000. If you spend more than that consistently, an MSA is usually a bad deal. If you spend less, it can be a great deal. Let me walk through several traps specific to Medicare MSAs. Trap number 1, a lack of Part D drug coverage. MSA plans generally do not include prescription drug coverage. You must separately enroll in a standalone Part D plan. The Part D premium is additional. The Part D deductible and cost sharing are separate from the MSA plan. This can dramatically increase the total cost of coverage for retirees who take regular prescriptions. Trap number 2, provider network limitations. Although MSA plans allow you to see any provider who accepts Medicare, some plans may have specific network considerations. Read the plan documents carefully. If you have a long-standing relationship with specialists, confirm they accept the plan structure. Trap number 3, non-qualified withdrawals. If you use MSA funds for non-medical expenses, the withdrawal is taxable as ordinary income. If you are under 65, it is also subject to a 50% penalty. Even over 65, the ordinary income treatment can push you into a higher tax bracket, trigger URMA surcharges, and affect Social Security taxation. Trap number 4, custodian administrative fees. Some MSA custodians charge annual fees that reduce the account balance over time. Compare custodian fees across available plans. Trap number 5, enrollment timing. MSA plans have specific enrollment windows during the annual enrollment period each fall. You cannot enroll mid-year except in limited circumstances. If you decide you want an MSA, you need to act during the enrollment window. Trap number 6, disenrollment considerations. If you want to switch out of an MSA plan, there are specific rules about what happens to the remaining MSA balance. Generally, the balance stays with you and can continue to be used for qualified medical expenses, but the mechanics depend on the plan and the custodian. Trap number 7, integration with Medicaid and other benefits. If you qualify for Medicaid or other income-based benefits, an MSA can complicate the eligibility calculation. The MSA balance may be treated as a countable asset in some programs, depending on the specific program rules. Trap number 8, failure to track qualified expenses. Since withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free and withdrawals for non-qualified expenses are taxable, you need to carefully track what qualifies. IRS Publication 502 lists qualified medical expenses, and the rules for MSA qualified expenses generally follow that publication. Keep receipts for everything, just as you would for a health savings account. Consider Ruth and Arthur. Ruth is a retired accountant who took a careful look at MSA plans when she and Arthur, a retired machinist, first enrolled in Medicare. They were both in good health and had substantial retirement savings to cover any high deductible year. Ruth ran the numbers comparing an MSA plan, a conventional Medicare Advantage plan, and traditional Medicare with a supplement and Part D. For their specific situation, the MSA plan came out ahead by about $1,500 a year in expected cost, but only if their health remained good. Ruth assessed the downside risk and decided to enroll in the MSA with a plan to reevaluate annually and switch to traditional Medicare with a supplement if their health declined. 5 years in, their health has stayed good, and they have accumulated over $12,000 in the MSA that they can use for future medical expenses, or if needed, to pay the deductible in a bad health year. Ruth's approach highlights a key principle. The MSA decision is not permanent, but it does have switching costs. You need to enroll during an enrollment window, and switching to a Medicare supplement plan later may require medical underwriting in many states, potentially resulting in a higher premium or denial of coverage if your health has declined. This is a critical point that most retirees do not realize. Medigap, the traditional name for Medicare supplement plans, has a guaranteed issue period when you first enroll in Medicare, typically the 6 months after you become eligible. After that initial window, insurance companies can medically underwrite you and charge higher premiums based on your health or decline coverage altogether. If you start with an MSA and try to switch to a Medigap plan in your 70s after a major health event, you may find the coverage unavailable or prohibitively expensive. This is why MSA plans should not be considered by retirees who might need to switch to a Medigap plan later. Once you choose an MSA and leave the guaranteed issue window, you have effectively committed to either staying in Medicare Advantage plans or returning to traditional Medicare without supplemental coverage, which leaves you exposed to significant out-of-pocket costs. Let me talk about a subset of retirees for whom MSAs tend to work. First, retirees in excellent health with a family history of good health. If you and your siblings and parents are all in their 90s, doing crosswords, you may have genuine reason to expect low healthcare costs in retirement. Second, retirees with substantial liquid savings beyond their retirement accounts. If you can easily absorb a $10,000 deductible without disrupting your life, the financial risk of an MSA is manageable. Third, retirees who are disciplined about tracking medical expenses and maintaining records. The tax benefits depend on proper documentation. Fourth, retirees who live in areas where MSA plans are available. Not all counties offer MSA plans, and availability varies year to year. Fifth, retirees who value the flexibility to pay providers directly and submit for reimbursement when appropriate, rather than working through a traditional managed care structure. Conversely, retirees who should generally avoid MSAs include those with chronic health conditions, those taking multiple prescription medications that require Part D coverage with low out-of-pocket costs, those with limited liquid savings, those who are risk-averse and prefer predictable monthly costs, and those who do not want to manage a separate savings account and tracking system. Let me touch on one more nuance. The Medicare MSA is distinct from the Health Savings Account, or HSA, available to workers with high deductible health plans under age 65. The rules are different. HSA contributions can come from your own pre-tax income. MSA deposits come only from Medicare. HSA contributions can be made with after-tax dollars and deducted, while MSA deposits are not reported as income. The tax treatment of withdrawals is similar for qualified medical expenses, but the rules around non-qualified withdrawals differ. If you have an HSA from your working years, you can continue to use that HSA for qualified medical expenses in retirement, but you cannot contribute to the HSA once you enroll in Medicare. The HSA and the MSA can coexist in retirement, though most retirees with HSAs use them primarily for Medicare premiums and out-of-pocket costs, while the MSA, if they have one, is used for the plan deductible and other qualified expenses. Another consideration is estate planning. MSA balances at death generally transfer to a designated beneficiary. If the beneficiary is a spouse, they can continue to use the MSA for qualified medical expenses tax-free, subject to specific rules. If the beneficiary is not a spouse, the MSA balance may be taxable to them as ordinary income in the year of receipt. Coordinate MSA beneficiary designations with your broader estate plan and understand the tax consequences for non-spouse beneficiaries. So is an MSA worth it? The honest answer is that for most retirees, it is not the right choice. The combination of high deductible, lack of Part D coverage, limited network plan availability, and the risk of being unable to switch to a Medigap plan later means that MSAs are best suited to a specific profile of retiree, not the general population. For that specific profile, healthy, financially prepared, risk-tolerant, and available in an MSA plan area, the zero premium and accumulating MSA balance can provide real value. Before making a decision, compare the MSA plan costs and benefits against a traditional Medicare plan with a Medigap supplement and a standalone Part D plan. Use the Medicare Plan Finder on the Medicare website, run the numbers with your actual healthcare spending projections, and consider the downside scenarios carefully. Talk to a Medicare certified insurance counselor in your state, often available free through your state's SHIPPY program, or work with a licensed insurance broker who can compare plans across multiple carriers and explain the trade-offs specific to your situation. If you know another retiree who is considering Medicare options for the first time or who has been enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan and is reconsidering, share this video with them. The Medicare enrollment period runs each fall, and the decisions you make during that window affect your coverage for the next year. Careful analysis up front can save thousands of dollars over the course of retirement and, more importantly, can ensure that when you need medical care, you have the right coverage in place. Medicare is not a one-size-fits-all system, and MSAs are one of the more unusual options within it. Know what you're choosing, know why you're choosing it, and review the decision every year during open enrollment. Take care of your Medicare coverage like you would take care of any other critical financial decision. The plan you choose matters for your cash flow, your health outcomes, and your long-term financial security. An informed choice is always better than a default choice, and the time you spend learning about your options pays off in the quality of care you receive and the money you keep in your retirement accounts for the rest of your life.